Hi everyone, I'm Ramil Ali. I'm an assistant professor of philosophy in the Department of Humanities, and basically what I'm showing you is a few use cases for virtual reality in our disciplines. So these videos won't give you a full sense of what virtual reality is because actually everything you're seeing is from my first person perspective, and the spaces that you're seeing actually look like they surround me. If you want a metaphor, if cinema gave us moving pictures, virtual reality gives us pictures that we can enter into. In this experience, I'm a man. It allows you to embody a black sanitation worker right before the assassination of Martin Luther King Jr. And it's just really, it shows you kind of the power of virtual reality to create empathic experiences because you can embody somebody else's first-person perspective, but also to document these experiences or to reenact them. And I think it can be really inspiring. You can have full artworks done in this format, theatrical performances, essays, and so on. Well, I'll go through a lot of use cases here, but actually I won't have scratched the surface of those sorts of things that are possible. And it's so easy to design this stuff. It doesn't really require much more than we've needed to have thus far.
The whites was heavy equipment operators. They dealt with the bulldozers and those big cranes and things.
No man can fully grasp how far and how fast we have come. But condense, if you will, the 50,000 years of man's recorded history in a time span of but a half a century. Stated in these terms, we know very little about the first 40 years, except at the end of them, advanced man had learned to use the skins of animals to cover them.
So this next experience is called Apollo 11, and it's a documentary virtual reality experience where you get to go to the moon and come back with the Apollo 11 team, hearing the audio from the time. It's a really beautiful experience.
Guidance system goes on internal at 17 seconds, leading up to the ignition sequence at 8.9 seconds. We're approaching the 60-second mark on the Apollo 11 mission. T-minus 60 seconds and counting. We passed T-minus 60.
So this is Google Earth, except in virtual reality, and it's really an experience that makes you feel superhuman. See, I can just push the Earth, and now the Earth is facing me, and I can just look up at the sky, and you really feel like God in there because you're looking at the Earth from a perspective you would never have the privilege of looking at it from as a human. I can, as you'll see, pick up the sun and just rotate it around, and this way shift the day to night instantaneously. It really is kind of it feels very profound. And I think it has such a potential for inspiring students to think outside of the limited space that they find around them. And it's particularly good for our Beirut campus, which is a small space to begin with. You can put bigger spaces in smaller spaces using virtual reality, and that's something really kind of magical in some sense. You can move away from the Earth all the way here, but as you'll see, I can go down all the way to street view, and then all of a sudden, I'm at the street in this particular place. But you can see I just move away and I can now see the Earth in front of me up to the point of just having it in front of me. You can see they dim the screen around so that I don't get nauseated. There's a form of, it's called sim sickness in virtual reality. This is an experience where you get a simulation of climbing Mount Everest, not a simulation, kind of watered down simulation, but nevertheless a very inspiring one and also informative.
You leave camp in the middle of the night. Your aim? To reach the summit in the late morning. That gives you just enough time to get back down without being exposed to extreme weather in the afternoon.
So here, my experience is of floating above the mountain but as you'll see, I can also become embodied on the mountain.
Summit. From there, you can see the true summit of Everest. Halfway between the two summits lies the final challenge of your climb to the top.
Good job! Grab the ascenders.
So now I'm actually embodied and climbing on the mountain itself. A really breathtaking experience, I can tell you that. So this is a recent experience I tried. It centers around World War I, and it's narrated by a famous history podcaster. It's called War Remains.
The world was thoroughly 19th century. At the beginning of this war, you have French soldiers marching off to battle with a sense of romance, expecting honor and glory. And when these 19th century troops, wearing red pants and blue jackets with tails, encounter 20th century machine guns and giant artillery pieces, the French are torn to shreds. Nobody had expected anything quite like this. How could they? Automobiles, for example, are new in the First World War. Submarines that can travel under the surface of the sea and attack shipping? That's right out of a Jules Verne book. And how about the H.G. Wells-like science fiction air machines that are filling the sky in numbers for really the first time ever? This kind of mechanization and the growth of industry and assembly lines and factories will become the hallmarks of war in the 20th century. But this is really the first time you get to see them.
So it's, and I can tell you, it's just kind of, I mean, some of these experiences are psychologically terrifying in a genuine sense, but it's just fascinating to see how much you can convey to another person. You can convey a first-person perspective to another person. They don't have to imagine what it's like to be there. They can just see it, and not see it on a screen that is separate from them, but rather be in the place of, kind of like be in the other person's shoes for a little bit, so to speak.
Ability to read and write made her one of the most gifted queens in ancient Egyptian history. With one of the most decorative tombs, it is clear to see that she was made a living goddess during her lifetime. The walls are illustrated with scriptures from the ancient Egyptian Book of the Dead, ensuring the queen's safe passage to the afterlife. Although he is not pictured, Ramses the Great's love for the queen shines throughout her tomb.
Thanks for listening.